Tonight's episode of Fireside is brought to you by Legends of Belize. Visit legendsofbelize.com to learn more.
Hello, everybody. You're listening to Fireside Paranormal Podcast. My name is Jordan Cline. I have a great show planned out for you today. My guest tonight is Moore Paranormal, a group out of Ohio, and I am fresh off of the convention at the West Virginia State Penitentiary in Moundsville. Instead of one featured story, I'm going to play maybe a couple featured stories tonight. I think it's going to be fun. But first, a few announcements. Newsly is an audio app for iOS and Android. It picks up web articles about the most trending topics on the web at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time in the history of the internet, the entire web becomes listenable. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling, start listening. You can follow any topic as specific as you'd like, from sports, science, to Bitcoin, or even the Kardashians. It'll find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. They also have podcasts, so explore trending podcasts from over 50 countries. My show, Fireside Paranormal Podcast, is there too. Download and use Newsly for free now from www.newsly.me or from the link in the description, and use promo code FIRESIDE, where the eyes are ones. I'll also put that in the description, and you receive 1 month free premium subscriptions. I also always want to encourage you to check out paranormalzine.com. That is American Paranormal Magazine. They have a 3-page spread for Fireside Paranormal Podcast in the magazine this month, and want to encourage y'all to go check it out. They do a wonderful job over there. Great magazine, and I 100% support it. So check it out, and let me know what you think. On August 13th, Paranormal Quest presents the 2022 West Virginia Penitentiary Paracon. Special guests are Paranormal Quest, Paranormal Nightmare, Heather Taddy, Adelaide's Haunted Horizons, and former West Virginia Penitentiary guards. There will be authors, psychics, readings, crystals, and all things paranormal. This event is 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tickets are $20 online at wvpentours.com/Paracon or $25 at the door. I really do enjoy these events. I'm going to be set up at this one as well. Of course, have my table set out and my recording equipment so that I can meet you and get your firsthand accounts, your personal ghost stories or UFO or Bigfoot or whatever you want to talk about. So if you're in the area, I would love to see you. If you can make the trip, something you definitely don't want to miss. Like I said, I am fresh off of the convention that was this weekend, the Wonders Oddities Expo. They always do a great show. It was a great turnout. I've met so many of y'all. I even had somebody who was an inmate at the penitentiary in North Hall. I got to talk to him a little bit about some of his experiences as well, which is really neat. But I thought for featured stories, it would be great, not just to have one today, but just throw in a couple featured stories so that you guys can get a feel of what we experienced at these conventions. This first story comes in from Rayleigh and Michaela.
I'm Michaela. I'm from Charleroi, Pennsylvania.
I'm Rayleigh. I'm from Bentleyville, Pennsylvania. So the story begins when we were at Ohio POW, and we were trying to find someplace cool to go, and we ended up meeting this group of people. And they mentioned this abandoned mine out in Perryopolis.
Oh, come on.
And so they gave us really sketchy directions, like not an address, just landmarks, how long to go, where to turn, and if you saw this, you went too far. By the time we got there, it was pretty dark. So we were standing after we walked through the woods for about 20 minutes, we finally found this mine shaft.
In the woods?
Yep.
Oh, gosh.
Parts of it were caving in, but we've never been the brightest, so we just carried on our way. And maybe about 3 steps in from the entrance, we started hearing voices.
Coming from the shaft?
Yes. And we tried to ask, is anybody there? But obviously we got no answer. And we were like, maybe we should come back in the day, because all we had was our phone flashlights. So we ended up finding flowers that somebody left there some notes shoved into bottles back in there. Like, we were told that it was haunted, and it was pretty much like notes to the ghosts.
Yeah, right.
And my friend found a Ouija board.
Yeah, it was handmade. Looked like something out of a scary movie. So I took it home because that's what I do. Thought it was a good idea. And probably 3 weeks later, I saw some guy on Facebook had a picture of it. So I messaged him. I was like, hey, did you steal my picture? And he's like, no, I was there. Like, I think it was 27 days before. And I was asking about the rose that we saw that was sitting next to it, and it was still alive.
What?
So, like, between those 27 days, that rose was still there, alive. Like a plucked rose.
Now, do you still did you take the Ouija board home? You still have it?
Yes. Yeah. It's on a shelf in my room. Some weird stuff happened. Things moving, noises. But nothing bad has happened to me yet, so.
Except for the strange noises and things moving.
I didn't die.
As long as I don't die, everything is good.
It's been a year and a half since I took it home.
Probably about that long.
That's awesome.
But we ended up going back to the mine shaft during the day about 2 weeks later, and we got a group of us to go. We all had pretty good flashlights, and we were just wandering deeper and deeper into this mine shaft. I found a really old hard hat, like a mining hat. I did end up taking that. I still have that. I haven't heard any weird noises, though. But we did hear voices all in the mine shaft as we were walking, and we never saw any other cars parked anywhere near where we were. So we just ignored them, explored what we wanted to, left, and agreed to never go back.
There we go.
Then I went back. Without her. You know, what's the movie? They're in the woods.
It?
No. With like the witchy stuff and the Blair Witch Forest.
Okay, yep.
You know the little crosses made out of sticks and stuff? Well, that was one of those was there where I found the Ouija board. I left that.
And you were by yourself?
I was with another friend.
Guts of steel.
Yeah. We didn't go back inside, but, you know, we wandered around a little bit. And there's, like, a shed outside that has, like, a satanic symbol on it. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, ladies, so much. What were your names again?
Rayleigh?
Michaela,
Michaela. Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
This next story is from Angie.
Hi, my name is Angie. I am coming from a Michigan dialysis clinic. We drove about 5 hours to get here and thought that this would be an interesting place to visit, and we have not been disappointed. Yes. So, last weekend, I run a dialysis clinic. I run several of them up in mid-central Michigan area. And last weekend, we had 5 patients pass away. Nothing unusual in the dialysis world. I mean, it happens when you work in healthcare. My charge nurse and I were restocking our emergency medical kit in case an emergency happens. And we hear this noise. The noise is coming from the other side of the clinic. Mind you, we're the only 2 people in the clinic. We already have the lights dimmed because we only turn half of them on when we're there. And we hear, shink! And we're looking at each other. Did you hear that? She's like, I did. 7 more times the noise happens. So we go over to the scale and we're looking around. Maybe it came from outside, and we hear it again. She's like, it is the bathroom. There is somebody in the bathroom. And I'm like, no, we checked yesterday before we left. So we get brave and we open the bathroom. The lights flick on, turn around the corner, and there is soap all down the wall, all in the trash can and all over the floor. I actually have a video of it.
Get out.
It was terrible. So we really closed the door and took off. Went back to the back of the clinic. We were done. We were not going to stay there. This kind of stuff happens all the time. The noises, it's just a creepy little place.
Wow, that's incredible.
So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Sometimes at these events, people are a little shy or nervous around a microphone. So this is somebody who wrote their story out and gave it to me. So this story comes from Martin, and it's going to be read by Brother Bear.
I had just gone to sleep like any other normal night. I woke up a few times, but that's not uncommon. I think it was about 4 a.m. when I had the dream, though I can't be sure. Dreams aren't inherently paranormal, and this could have just been a really weird one. That's probably what it was, just an odd dream. I was wandering the halls of my high school with no idea how I got there. All I knew was that I needed to get out, needed to leave. There was no one in the school, and everything was oddly dim, like the lights were sleepy and tired of being bright. The hallways seemed to be wider and narrower than they should have been. I was walking along one of the hallways, wondering what might be behind all those closed and locked doors, and scaring myself more than I needed to. The walls seemed to be closing in a bit, making me anxious, and I turned a corner. There was a dark staircase over right next to the row of lockers on the right side, and I walked over to it. I looked down that staircase, and I felt the most intense vertigo that I've ever felt. I sat down on the first step, because otherwise I would have fallen over. The staircase was maybe 3 feet deep and made of rough, unsanded plywood painted black. There were 6 steps that went down, and 6 steps that went up, with a little space between the staircases. Though I suppose that they both could have gone up or down, depending on how you looked at it. Either way, I sat down on the first step and tried to stop my stomach from flipping. I had my head in my hands when I saw a large green beetle crawl out of the wall next to me. It was big, about as long as my thumb, and it was a dark, shiny green with a black head. I knew somehow that it wasn't supposed to be here, and neither was I. I woke up to my pillow wet with tears. I stood up to get out of bed and fell right back into it because the vertigo was so bad. There was no reason for me to feel like this. I took a moment to steady myself and stood up again, dizzy. My hands were shaking as I made myself breakfast and tea. I was dizzy and nauseated for the entire day, but not in a I'm incredibly ill kind of way, in a I just fell from great heights kind of way. There's still nothing inherently supernatural or paranormal about my dream, or anything that happens after, except for the fact that I didn't feel fear for the next month. I exposed myself to things that should have scared me, things that would have scared me out of my pants before the dream. I felt nothing. I also didn't feel any vertigo whatsoever for the next 3 months. I went upside down on a roller coaster, nothing. I went to the top of the Eiffel Tower and looked down, nothing. Everything that should have made my stomach drop did nothing. The only thing that made me dizzy were stairs. It didn't matter how steep they were or how many stairs. They all gave me such intense vertigo that I had to close my eyes going up and down any staircase. I guess there's still nothing inherently spooky about my dream. It was just a weird dream, that's all. I just wish I could stop thinking about that green beetle.
Thank you all so much for sharing your stories with me. If you out there want your story to be one of the featured stories, email me firesideparanormalpodcast@gmail.com. Again, if you don't want to read it or tell me out loud, write it down and we'll read it for you.
Legends of Belize is a series about mythical creatures that dwell in the jungles and waters of Belize. The Belizean legends are captured, documented, and preserved like never before in a comprehensive art series and books with fully colored and detailed images of fine art by artists, authors, and award-winning animators Dismas and Grissi G. Discover the supernatural creatures that await deep in the jungles, such as the mysterious dwarf called Tata Duende with backwards feet known to rip the thumbs off of trespassers, or the beautiful shape-shifting woman known to locals as the Ishtabai, who seduces drunks to never be seen again. These creatures and many more can be found in the Legends of Belize books. Learn about the cryptozoological, paranormal, and unexplained creatures that haunt Belize. Be fascinated. Be terrified. Belize. Legend of Belize books are available in print and ebook. Buy your copy from your favorite online bookstore such as Amazon, KDP, Apple Books, and many more. Also be sure to visit legendsofbelize.com.
If you have any interest in sponsoring Fireside Paranormal Podcast, send me an email. Let me know what you think, and we can work something out. All right, I want to get to my guest. Join me by the fire as we welcome Moore Paranormal. You guys with us?
Hi, Jordan.
Hey, Jordan.
Now introduce yourselves for me.
I'm Kim Moore, and I'm a member of Moore Paranormal.
Hey, everybody. This is Josh Robertson. I am Kim's cousin. I am also a member of Moore Paranormal, and we're just missing Kim's husband, Keith Moore. He's our other member of the Moore Paranormal team.
So there's 3 of you in total, right?
We're a small group. There's just 3 of us. We do have some people that come with us on events. Not that's anything that we do promote or like put together as like a whole weekend thing or whatever, but we do have like my aunt comes and her boyfriend comes, and we have some of my friends, Josh's friends have attended. So our team core is us three. And then we have like some people that are really interested in what we're doing. So we like to bring them with us.
Absolutely. And it sounds like it's like a family affair with it. You know, everybody in the family's together. That's cool.
It is totally cool. Like when
Yeah,
when my aunt said she was interested, I was like, of course, my aunt is Josh's mom. So I was like, absolutely come and join. And that's just her nature. So
yeah, and that's what we have on our Instagram is just, I think we have a family, a family just doing fun paranormal stuff and doing things together as a family. So it's pretty cool.
That's really neat. I actually, when I started doing investigations, it was with my cousin. So my cousin Nick and I would go the penitentiary. We were just talking about that before we started recording. That was our first investigation. And then, we caught some stuff and we were hooked, just like, we were talking with Josh.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's really what happened was Kim and Keith were doing these investigations, and they would always ask our family to go. And I would be like, nah, that's crazy. I'm not going to do any of that. And we went to Mansfield Reformatory, and that was like, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, something like that. And we were just instantly hooked. We wanted to do more.
So how did you guys, here's how I'll ask it. What was it that really got you started? Like, what made you say, I am going to start a paranormal investigation team? Not just like go out and do hunts and things like that. What made you want to start the team?
Josh, go ahead. I'm going to kind of defer to you.
Yeah. So it was really Kim and Keith's brainchild. Their last name is Moore, Moore. And Keith had this saying, we're more paranormal than you, just as a fun play on words. And he was like, I always envision, having a team. We're more paranormal than you. I go, let's do it. Let's start an Instagram page. It's free. We'll go on ghost adventures and we'll put it all on Instagram. And I mean, that's really how it started. And we the very first night we created the Instagram page, I think we had like 50 followers, like in a couple of hours. And we were messaging each other like, oh my God, we have 50 people following us. This is great. And it just really snowballed into a fun hobby of doing something that we all kind of enjoy doing it together. And we text almost every day about the page or what we're doing next. So it's been a cool, fun experience.
I think too, just to kind of piggyback on what Josh is saying, is that like, it was like my husband found it so fascinating. Like the day that we went, I think the first experience we went to the Madison Seminary, which is here in Madison, Ohio.
Oh, wow.
And which is right down the street from us. So we live in Madison. Like I said, I teach in Toledo. I'm a dental hygiene instructor. So I teach in Toledo at a community college, and Keith is here with our daughter, but I was here at the time, and we went to the Madison Seminary, and he fell in love with it. And I've always kind of had some, I don't know, a little bit more openness to experiences, things.
Okay.
Like I've heard my father talking. I'm truly an empath. Not to say that I have any clairvoyant ability, but just sometimes I can feel and sense things. I think we all have this innate nature to, if we want to be in tune with it, we can feel it.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm not a clairvoyant. I don't predict. I can't see anything, but I sense people's emotions, and it's really incredible because I'll carry that with me. Like I'll carry people's emotions with me. But I think what really got him involved was like, he fell in love with it that day. And then we went to Trans-Allegheny and we did like a tour there, and we would come back and see my family, like sit down with Josh and his brothers, my 2 other cousins, and be like, dude, this was the craziest thing. It was so cool. Like you have to see not only what's contained in the walls of these buildings, but the architecture. My goodness, like immense. It swallows you up, like, and I think that's what made us put this group together, was like the fascination behind it. And it brought our family together. I mean, I love that, like, I love the closeness that I have with Josh now, and, and the things that we get to share with our family about like having these experiences. So that was primarily the reason. And now it just kind of boomed into something bigger.
That's awesome. I love it. Now, do you usually do the bigger, like, tour kind of investigations? Do you do any residential places as well? Like, where's your style at now?
Josh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so we originally started doing like group tours, and we would do like whenever there was a big ghost hunt, we would go and be involved with that. And we've just kind of branched out into doing private, where we have the place to ourselves, because we probably will still do group stuff, but we kind of like the intimacy of just our team being there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where we're at now. I personally have never, are you saying, or have we investigated people's personal homes?
Yeah.
The only one that I have was with my mom's house. We did it twice because she thinks there's some spirits there, but other residents, no, I never have.
What about you, Kim?
Same thing. The only residential we've ever done was my aunt's house, Josh's mom's, and we went there for the first time, and we were so deconstructed at that time. We didn't have any of the equipment that we have now.
Yeah.
We were just so simple. We had an EMF detector. We had our EVP recorder. We had this app, and I'm sure most people almost like we would love to get a geobox, but we had like kind of something similar like on our iPad. So, is it super relevant? Who knows? But the questions we were asking had these incredible relevant responses, because her boyfriend that lives in the house, I think, Josh, if I'm correct, it's the father that fell down in the basement off a ladder.
Yeah.
And the little box comes back to us and says, "I fell."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We actually heard a noise. We heard a noise, and it came back. The thing came back as "I fell," and we were like, "Oh, wow, that's." We always try to debunk everything, right? Try to debunk the apps and whatever. We don't really use a lot of. We only use the one app, and we use a lot of equipment and personal stuff. And we always try to debunk the app, and that time it was really spooky that it actually kind of worked.
It was like boom, boom, boom. It was like a consecutive. Here's the drop, like maybe a 5-second pause, and then "I fell," and we're like, really?
Yeah, we were using the mag light. We had some good interactions with the mag light.
Yeah, for sure.
And the K2 is going off a little bit too. So it was pretty fun, pretty fun experience. And my mom 100% thinks her house there's a spiritual inhabitant there.
Yeah. Now that you caught something on your app box.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of like validated it for her, because I feel like my aunt, strangely and oddly enough, she's like a conduit.
Oh.
Yeah. Like, she's a heavily charged individual. Like, she's very she's very soft-spoken, kind, but she's like, I don't know, how do I describe her, Josh? Like, I'm just thinking, like, she brings this energy, and like when we take her to places, like, she's just such a great person to have on there with us. But I think sometimes she amps up the energy.
Yeah, it's like humans and like their aura with animals. Like, she has that with.
For sure.
Hey, that's good. That's good. Just
like
take her around everywhere. Like, hey.
Yeah,
come with me all the time.
Now, do you ever see yourself doing more residential? Do you have any like desire to go into homes, or do you enjoy more the big, the I don't want to say scary places, but where you're known to have that kind of reactions with your meters and things like that, the more active places that are there?
Go ahead.
Oh, Josh, I was just gonna say, I think for us right now, I'm a history like freak, and I love it. Like, nice. I adore it. It like fills my soul. I don't know if we're at that level yet to expose ourselves to residential investigation, because I don't think that we don't have enough knowledge yet. And I think I want to say that, like, just to kind of put that out there, is that, like, we don't claim to be anything other than just like our individuals that are exploring this alter universe on our own, and I don't know if we're ready for maybe something that might be in a residential home that we're not prepared for. So
that's smart.
Yeah. If we ever get to that level, amazing. But I'm not armed yet with enough knowledge yet to say, oh man, I'm ready to go do some residential. But eventually that would be great. But I want to go in the right state of mind and then with the right armory.
Yeah, exactly. To tell somebody that their house is haunted, I mean, or who the spirit is. I don't think we're there yet either. I like the historical part, like Kim is saying. We like to go to the historical buildings. You learn about the building, the history that was there. That's part of almost a 2-part process of our investigation, is learning the history, the coolness of it. We were just at Haunted Prospect Place in Trinway, Ohio, a couple weekends ago.
Oh, nice.
It was part of the Underground Railroad, and it just had just immense history. So we didn't get a lot of interaction there. We got some, but it didn't matter because of the history of state. We stayed the night there, and that part is just so cool. And then the investigation part is, awesome as well.
Before we get into like stories and things like that, what kind of equipment do you use now? I know before you were talking about the equipment, you were saying, well, it was very bare bones, we were just starting out. Like, what kind of stuff do you have now?
Yeah, so we have a couple REM pods that we like to use. We have a couple handheld REM pods. We have a bunch of K2s. We have a full spectrum camera. We have a couple regular night vision cameras.
Let me interrupt you just for a second. We do have some folks that listen that have no clue what any of that means. So if you were going to break down what those are, how would you explain those?
Yeah, so the REM pods are just a device with an antenna that it just can sense if something's getting close to it, and the closer something gets to the antenna, the higher the lights will trigger on the machine. So we'll set that up in a room where we think there might be people that have known to ballroom dance, or there might be they move around different rooms. We'll put the REM pod in that area to see if something is going up and down there. We have a really good video on our Instagram page. We set it up in a stairwell, and the REM pod was just triggering like crazy as we were talking to one of the spirits in their room.
That was Bel Air House.
That was at the Bel Air House. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Right close to me.
Yeah. So you're really close to the Bel Air House. Have you ever investigated it? Or
no, but I know the owner.
Yeah.
She's been on the show as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, we had a lot of experiences there. A lot of creepy stuff happened there. We have the EMF readers, the K2s. Those usually are for checking for electric currents. And that's what our Moore Paranormal logo is, that EMF reader. So going from the green to the yellows to the orange to the red is part of our logo. We have a bunch of those. That's like the standard, I think, that everybody has. That was like our first big purchase.
Yeah, that was like our first purchase.
When we
We're
started.
Like, whoa, this is so awesome. Look at this. It lights up. Like, we're legit. It just felt cool to interact with it finally, because you have seen other like reputable investigators and had conversations with people. And then when you put it in your hand and play around with it, you're like, wow, like, how is this going off? Like, literally there's nothing around us. Like I have to go on top of it to make it. So it was just, and we always kind of try to go into these investigations with doing like a baseline. So we don't get any kind of like weird, you know what I mean? Like triggers that are like, oh, and then there's like all this like electromagnetic, currents from whatever's happening inside the house from the electricity or whatnot. But we try to always debunk that. And like that experience at the Bel Air House was really, really cool. Sorry, my phone is ringing.
Yeah. I've heard that, that place is one of the most active locations.
It was incredible.
Yeah, we could go into some stories that we had happen there. I mean, and then we have, we have laser grids that you just set up for looking for shadow people to cross in front of. We have the full spectrum camera that will show all light happening in full darkness, the night vision that will provide some light. So we're trying to get a balance there to try to debunk anything that we're seeing happening at night. We have a machine that lets us know if we have interaction from like internet or Wi-Fi. So we try to turn our phones off or put them in airplane mode, so we're not getting any outside interference from electricity or Wi-Fi or anything like that. So we usually will walk we'll do a walk of the facility with that, make sure, okay, this room is, we're pretty certain that anything that comes through is real. It's not any type of interference. And then we just have some small stuff like the cat balls that
cat balls, like they're
the
so
cat balls
great.
are they're animated and you light up. We saw those working really well at Madison Seminary, so we ended up having to buy some of those, and we had some interaction with those. We stayed at Landell's Mohican Castle. The cat balls were going off, and we were talking to somebody in the.
All right, with the cat balls, are you talking like a literal, like you buy the cat with a little jingly, jing, 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 you know?
No, yes, but it doesn't jingle. It lights
jingle.
up. So it can only light up if it's moved.
Okay.
So we've seen those a lot. So we bring a lot with us, and
our music box.
We have a music box that if something walks in front of it, it'll trigger music, which is pretty cool. How
many times do you scare yourself with that?
All the time. That's so funny you say that.
Yeah, all the time, because
it's hilarious.
Yeah,
that is almost the equivalent. Let me interrupt you. That is almost the equivalent of getting one of those, like the baby dolls and the toy stuff that are like, like when something walks in front of it. Like,
well, it has such a huge range. So it's not just a 2 foot, like in 2 feet in front of it. It's a huge range that if it trips. So yeah, we've set it off before. It kind of spooks you.
I want to tell a really quick story if I have a moment. I was setting that up at the House of Wills. I don't know if you ever heard of the House of Wills. It's a old funeral parlor that's in the inner city of Cleveland, Ohio. And this place has a tremendous amount of history, built by the Masons I can't remember what year it was built. I think it was the late 1800s, but built by a Mason. It is this incredible structure. It's almost like a maze inside. Someone procured it in the 1940s, maybe 50s, and they turned it into like a funeral home. So it was a very well-to-do funeral home in the inner city community of Cleveland. So we went there. It's abandoned now. Someone purchased it. They're trying to restore it, keep it historical. Like, I think the city wanted to tear it down, but I mean, the people that built this put so much effort and work, and there's like so much to it. So they bought it, and someone's living there and trying to restore it. But I was going up to the second floor, like on the staircase up to going to like where they used to reside, like the people that were the curators of the funeral home. And like, I'm putting it down and I walk away and it's pitch black. And all of a sudden it's like, it starts to sing and starts to go off. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm just freaking out. And, I'm the one that set it off, but it's still like, I can't turn it off and turn it on. So I just remember walking so fast back to my group. I'm like, like moving so quickly.
Yeah.
Freaked out.
Yeah, we started like any normal team. We just would buy something here and there, and then we would go on these investigations when we would do it with the big groups, and we would see groups coming in with suitcases and stuff. And we would be like, that's insane. And now we're rolling up with a suitcase full of stuff, and we'll just buy stuff here and there, and just add it to what we're doing. So we're just kind of growing as we're learning about investigating.
Wow. All right, so cool. I want to know, where is the scariest place so far that you've investigated?
I'm going to let you go first, Josh.
The scariest place. I don't know if I can name one that's scary, but I think each place has had a scary moment to it. Okay. I would say the first scary moment for me was the first time I went at Mansfield Reformatory. We were in the one area where the guy was shot. Who was the guy that was shot in the one room? The warden was shot, and I was still skeptical at the time, and I just looked over and I could have swore I saw an old lady with the old candle in her hand just kind of float across the doorway. Really? And I just had chills, like just hairs up the back of my neck. I was just like, what the hell was that? That was not normal. And I went into the room by myself, made sure nobody was around, turned the flashlight on, and was looking all around, and there was nothing there, that nobody else was around. I did. That was probably the first time I was legit. Probably, I don't want to say scared, but I was spooked. I was definitely spooked from that experience.
Now, when you saw her, like, did she look like a shadow? Did she look, solid like you and me?
It was almost like she was like glowing a little bit, and she had like a flowing dress and had one of those old candle holders, and just floated right across the doorway in the room.
Wow.
I so remember your reaction to that. Like, it was like pure reaction. And I thought, oh my gosh, like he's actually getting something out of it. Like he got something. Like not everyone gets to have that kind of exposure to something. You can go and there's nothing. Like there's like 8 hours of silence. The rooms are silent, almost like they're all hiding. Nobody wants to talk to you, nothing. But he got to have this opportunity to see this vision. I mean, like, that's incredible. Like it was so raw when you were like, you were so overwhelmed by that. Like, and the way you described it was just so cool. Like
it spooked me pretty good.
Oh, I'd say. And you stayed around. Like it spooked you enough to stay.
That was like part one of the addiction of, I went into it as completely skeptical, and I was like, none of this is real. I always loved urban legends. I always loved doing urban legend stuff or reading about urban legends, but ghost hunting, I was always skeptical. And then that moment and another couple of moments later in that night just really changed my mind. The next day I woke up, I was reading all about it. I was like, where are we going next? Like that was a big turning moment.
What about you, Kim?
So I'm going to say probably one of the most scariest experiences I've had. It's not the most scary place to me. We went to Hillview Manor.
Okay.
In Pennsylvania.
I've heard a lot of stories about that place.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of history there, just with the people that live there, and we were in the basement. They took us down into the basement into this room where they had all of this just old stuff. Like people, like it's almost like the building just stops and everyone leaves, but everyone's stuff is still there. So they put it all in this like basement room. They shut off all the lights, and we're just sitting in pitch black in this dark room, and they're just talking about like this old woman that has a tendency to walk through these. And now, did I have an experience? I didn't have an experience, but did I feel scared? I was pretty scared at that moment. Your mind plays a little bit of tricks on you. Am I seeing something? I mean, you like kind of build this story up, but that was legit fear, and I get a little bit fearful. I would also say too, when I went to Rolling Hills Asylum, I felt fearful when we went down to the little boys' room where like, it's almost like, where is that at? Like almost like down in the basement area of Rolling Hills Asylum. There's supposed to be a little boy that like resides in this like laundry room area. And I don't know, like I kind of think, am I really interacting with the child? Like the child was singing, we were singing row, row, row your boat. And
we set a mag light up. We have that on our Instagram page, and we just started. It was like 2 a.m. or something, and it was just us in this room, and there were like toys around. Yeah, we were singing row, row, row your boat at 2 a.m, and the mag light just started going on and off.
Wow.
Interacting with us. And like when we stopped singing, there was like no interaction with the mag light. It was, one of those, your hair is just sticking up like, oh my God,
that was
crazy.
That was scary because it was like, wow, like this is like really happening. And then just, being stuck in solitary confinement in the Mansfield prison, like, was there an experience? No, but it's scary to go stand in there in the pitch black in the basement of the Mansfield Reformatory. Like that's scary, but
it's a real experience.
It is a real experience. I mean, like Josh said, every place has its own, like, I don't know, little area of, at least for me, that kind of gives me some fear. I don't know, like I don't feel comfortable in certain locations. Like the energy there is just displaced. Like it's just not a welcoming energy. So sometimes some areas feel very off kilter to me. So, but that's, pretty much.
Josh, when we're talking about these experiences, and like your first experience was like a full-bodied, ghost carrying a candle. There are investigators that go their entire investigation career and have nothing even close to that experience. Like, do you know that?
Oh yeah, I know. And we've gone to we've gone to locations and have had nothing happen. I mean, we've had that where, you don't want to be disappointed, but when you have something super awesome like that happening and then you go to investigate and you get really nothing from it. It's a biggie. And we had more experiences there. I don't know if you want me to tell you about.
Yeah.
That at Mansfield. This is the part 2 that I was saying about. Part 1 was the, seeing that lady, but we were walking around. It was probably like 3 a.m, and we were walking around Mansfield, and we were walking around all the prison cells, and Kim and I both felt like the same, like, I don't know what it was, like something on our necks. We just felt like something like a water drop or something.
At the same time.
Oh, wow.
Same time in the same location. And this has actually happened to us at Madison Seminary. We were in the basement, and Kim and I, and only Kim and I don't know if it's because we're related or what, but we both felt like the same thing on the top of our heads.
That's right.
At the same time. But at Mansfield, Kim and I, we stopped. We were like, what is that tint that was on our neck? And we look back, and Keith is tearing up. His eyes are watery. And
he cried on you.
What's that?
I said he cried on you.
He wasn't crying. His eyes were just watered up, and mine weren't. And we were like, let's get into the prison. Let's get into this cell right here and investigate. And we got in there, and we were doing investigations. And this was my first time, and nothing really happened. It was just physical. And when we got home the next day, I looked up, we wrote down where we were, and we found out that the prison cell that was directly above us is where the 22-year-old kid set himself on fire and committed suicide. And the symptoms that we had, that men watered eyes, was the symptoms of feelings in that area. And we had no idea anything about that until the next day. And that was, again, another moment for me where I was reading it going, oh my God, my hair's sticking up. Like, okay, I'm a full believer. I'm a full believer in this. This was great. This is a cool experience. Something I could sit around and watch sports all night, drinking beers, but this is different. This tops anything.
How would you explain the feeling? And this is what I'd love to be able to get across to a lot of folks that aren't investigators or have never been on an investigation. That feeling of fear, panic, excitement, all at the same time, with the hair on the back of your neck standing up. Like, how would you explain it?
For me, yeah, sure. For me, my experience is it like halts me in my tracks. Like, all of a sudden, I'm just kind of like, I almost feel like I'm paralyzed for a second, and then this happens, and then I'm like experiencing like this intense sensation from around me. So for me, the experience is almost like I know it's going to happen, and then it happens. Like, it almost like I freeze up, and then something happens. Like, rarely have I been like la 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 walking around, and then boom. Like, a lot of times I'm like and then boom, so it's like, for some reason, like, my body can feel that like something's going to occur. So it just feels like bone chilling. Like, when we left Mansfield that night and drove back home, when we left Rolling Hills Asylum that night to drive back to the hotel, our bones ached. Like, my bones were like, I don't know how to describe that. Like, it was on such a different level of intensity. So, but that's usually what happens for me. It's
like, it's like riding a roller coaster for the first time. You see this mammoth thing, this huge hill, and you're young, and you're like, you're almost scared to death to go on it. And you're waiting in line, and your heart's just beating. You're like, should I go on this, not go on it? What's going to happen? And you just get nervous, and you're strapped in, and then you're done.
Step in this dark room? Yeah.
You're from that moment you're locked in. You have to do it, and you're just going up that hill like that, chicken, and then you go down that hill, and you're screaming, and you're just like, the ride ends, and you're like, let's go again. Let's get back in line and do this all over again. That's kind of like what investigating is, especially when it gets dark outside. You're like, okay, we're here, we're in it. Let's walk around the rooms and get that moment of going up the hill and then investigating and getting the spooks out. And it's kind of like that.
I think, Jordan, too, I want to say, like, and Josh, I think I've said this to you before. It's like, yes, that whole communication part with the spirit is incredible. And we all seek that out. We all seek the ability to see an apparition or see something that's so real in front of us. But a lot of times, like, I just want to listen to them. I just like want to hear them speak to me. Like, I don't need anything. Like, you don't have to communicate with me. Just let me know, like, you're there. Like, people, like, if we get stuck in a dimension when we leave this earth, like, I would hope someone would come talk to me, because I'd be bored. Like, if I had to keep living the same thing over and over again, and I was without guests. I mean, it just kind of all depends on the spirit you're interacting with. But, I feel like a lot of times we do this because it's so exciting, and I feel that rush that Josh is explaining for sure. But I also feel like this like sense of like openness, like with these spirits that either have lived horrendous existences or were not ideal people that walk the earth.
Yeah.
So many different levels of interaction, or what your and sometimes you don't even have to you shouldn't even have an expectation. It's just going, like, we're just going to go. We're just going to be. Yeah.
There's something I want to ask you, Kim, and it's because before, you were talking, I'm not clairvoyant, I'm not of this, but I feel people's feelings. That's more of they call it empath. I don't know if you've heard that, but a lot of a psychic empath or whatever, you can sense the feelings of other people around you, and you carry those emotions around. Do you find yourself feeling any of these feelings when you're alone in a room, when you're doing an investigation?
I have. I've felt the experience when we were at Madison Seminary. There's a story of a little girl in one of the rooms. And as we got there, I mentioned to Keith, I was like, there's something in that window. And we go into that room and I feel this emotional sense of connection to a young child, a female child. We have a daughter, and sometimes like that, like, just kind of maybe this spirit interacted with me because they know that I'm a mother of a daughter, or maybe that's just how I presented myself. But I could feel the sadness of a little child, of this young girl that may have was there with her mother that had lost their father, because that home used to be part of a women's home for Civil War women that lost their husbands. So they would go there and they would live. So I have that interaction. Does it happen all the time, Jordan? No, but like, it happens to me more so with the living than I've had the opportunity to experience it with those that have maybe moved on to the other side. And I can only hope, as like Josh and our team and Keith and our team move forward, that I can maybe make that connection. I've only had it happen maybe a couple times, but it is something I'm in tune with, and maybe I just need to in tune myself with it in a different way, in a more spiritual, meditative way, because like in real life, like, boy, I carry people's emotions around with me. I can feel them. They're palpable. They actually disrupt me. So, or they enlighten me. It could be disruptive or enlighten me. They can make me feel really amazing too. So, I wish that I could say that I had so many more experiences with that, but to this point, I haven't had that. I haven't had many yet. So
what about you, Josh? Do you have any psychic abilities you think could throw into an investigation there?
No, I don't think I do. I felt things. I felt like a vertigo sensation before at Madison Seminary. I got extremely dizzy.
In that
when I moved, I moved a foot forward, and instantly I didn't feel the vertigo dizzy feeling anymore. But
oh wow.
No, I'm more like I'm more into like the technical stuff. I like putting the hardware out and seeing if I can get interaction on the REM pod or capturing something on the full spectrum camera. Like my mom and Kim are really in tune with their feelings and trying to, get that physical presence from the spirits.
So I think a lot of teams have that dynamic. I'm sorry, Jordan.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams have that dynamic where they have the one person that's like the feely, emotional, and then you have the technical, the I want to see it on hard evidence. Like your story's not legit to me till I feel it or I see it on something. So like I think all teams have that kind of like not hierarchy, but those kind of roles and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And that what I was going to say is, where does Keith fit into this?
So
he's probably in the middle. He's probably in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's a believer. He loves the experience. Has he had many experiences? He'll tell you no, except for that one. And he will always reference the profound experience he had at Mansfield, because to him, that was an eye-opening moment for him. Other than that, he hears things. We hear, if we knock on the, like in Prospect Place, we knocked on the floor in George, George
W. Adams.
George W. Adams' room. We knock on the floor, and underneath the floor is where the slaves would come to kind of pass through the Underground Railroad and stay underneath there. So maybe they would knock on the floor to indicate that that they were there. But we got interaction there. So Keith's like, oh, that's so great. I can hear these things. These are like real things. But to have had like a physical experience like myself or Josh has had, he's not had that pleasure of having that yet, except for that Mansfield experience.
Yeah.
So he's in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle, just floating around trying to find his space.
Kind of how that's his personality anyway.
Now, this is something I like to ask whenever I meet investigators. Someone ask y'all, if you could only take like one piece of equipment on an investigation, what would that be?
I love the REM pod. I love using the REM pod. I think it can help out with, if something wants to interact with me, it can touch it. It can move the colors, letting me know how strong of a presence it's there. If something's moving in and out of a room, it can trigger. I just think it has multiple functions for me to use. And coming from the techie side of it, visually too, for, a lot of stuff is on social media now, and we're trying to drive a lot of content in social media.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't want to say we're that's our intent at all, but to engage with our audience, for them to see something on video, it's a cool factor. It's a cool thing to show. I mean, we have a lot of different stuff to take, but that probably is my favorite.
Kim?
I'm gonna go super simple, and I'm just gonna say the mag light. I love because I played with the mag light in my house here in Madison, and it does nothing, right? Like it's like nothing's happening. I mean, there's just like it's not moving, and then we go somewhere, and I get this interaction. So something as simple for me, like that excites me. Like I'm not super techie. So like for me, I'm like, ooh, a flashlight is going on and off, and it's saying yes, and it's turning off or no. And so for me, I'd say it's something as simple as that. A camera, like, I mean, if I had to pick one, I'd say the mag light. A camera would be great because then I could like show people what really happened. But sometimes some of these experiences are personal. Like it's a personal experience. And I know people want to see and like say, well, are you legit? Is that legit? And sometimes like I can't give them that satisfaction because like it's my own personal experience. So it's interesting how it works in the So,
we had a good example of that is we were at House of Wills, like Kim was saying, and we were with this guy that was with us. This was his first investigation, and he was in full. He had like a winter coat on, and this was in the middle of the summer. He had on a winter coat, and he was just bundled up. We were like 2 subfloors into the basement, and
subfloors in the basement. That was crazy.
Yeah. And it was cold. It was cold down there. We had the heat gun was saying, I think it was only like 45 or 46 degrees, something like that in there. And it was cold, and he was shivering. He was this big guy, and he was shivering. And I was standing next to him. I was like, it's cold. So I'm not shivering. And he was moved to tears. He had to sit down And he, this guy has tattoos on his neck. He has some teardrops on his face, and he just was moved to tears. He sat down and he was just, I'm not by any means making fun at all, because it was real, and it was something I think we shared it on Instagram, but it's hard to, I'm standing there next to him, and it's hard to hear that on social media through a recording than seeing it, happening live, where this guy's sitting down just in absolute tears, crying. It was just, for him, like, I think that if you would ask anybody like what got them into investigating, I think that would be his moment. Like, that would be his roller coaster moment. Like, okay, I want to do this again. That was a crazy experience. And
He did have a crazy experience.
there was no equipment, no nothing. It was all a physical thing for him.
I think too, for him, Josh, is that we were in we were in an urban community, and he is an African-American man. And we were in this, it was owned by an African-American gentleman. And, the same, like, they were, Martin Luther King was supposedly at the House of Wills at one time. And I think that maybe the spirits were talking to him, because they were like, hey, listen. And I think in that sub basement, as we were talking with the people that owned it, or one of the other hosts that was taking us around that evening, is that could have been where they were incinerating the bodies, as, for funeral purposes. So, I just think he made a great connection, because he's part of the community there. And I think that, like, maybe they were just speaking to him. And he was so rawly emotional when he came up, and it was tough, because we were like, well, this is what happens. Like, are you okay? Like, I don't want anything to follow you home.
Yeah.
So like, when we leave, we're like, all right, you stay here. Like, this is where you live. You don't live with me. Like, so I try to always do like a protective kind of like spell, like, just to kind of center ourselves that, like, we're welcome and open, but we're not open enough to bring you home with us and stuff. And, fortunately I've not had any experiences of bringing anything, but yeah.
What about you, Josh? You bring anything home?
No, not that I know of. No, we actually, what's funny is about that is we, when we went to Bel Air House, we had a friend's husband come with us, and he was a gray witch. He was like was he a gray witch, Kim? Or
I'm trying to think of what his.
He went to actual like school and learned spells and how to cast spells, and he actually did a protection spell on us. He gave us protection. What's that?
He go to Hogwarts?
But he
nobody put a spell on me. It was a joke.
Yeah, he cast spells on some mercury rocks for us that we carried around. But when we left there, he put a spell on like a saltwater mixture, and we rubbed it on the bottom of our feet, and nothing was coming, especially Bel Air House, because that was just, we had almost poltergeist type experiences there.
Yes, that's the first time we've ever had that.
Yeah,
an actual movement of something, and a bottle cap was thrown across the room.
Oh wow.
And like, that's the first time we've ever in our lives,
and
like,
a ball. Yeah, and a ball was rolled.
And the ball hitting Aunt Debbie's or my aunt's legs. Yeah.
Yeah, a ball was rolled into the one room.
Yeah, I've heard some crazy stories out of the Bel Air House.
Yeah, like, what an interesting home. Like, and I think it's like on ley lines, and it's above a mine, and it has this incredible saturation of energy feeding it, and yeah.
So what is next for Moore Paranormal? Do you have any like big investigations coming up? Anything fun?
We're definitely going to go back to House of Wills.
I think on the 25th we're gonna go, and September 25th we're headed back to the House of Wills.
That's it's such a huge place. It looks so small from the outside. Huge. It's just so big. It's one of the United States most haunted funeral homes. It's one of Ohio's top haunted places.
You'll have to look that up.
Yeah,
you have to look it up. It's really incredible.
Again, for us, like, the historical part of it just has so much history from just what it did to the community, and just everything, how cool it was there, and Martin Luther King having meetings there, and just that part is cool enough to go back again.
Oh yeah.
I think we're looking at, are we looking at Waverly Hills too? Soon,
Yes.
maybe beginning of
Yes.
next year. I do a lot of going to like a lot of urban legend locations in the area, and I'll take my equipment sometimes and put that on our channel. So we try to stay busy we try to do like 3 or 4 things a year, main things a year.
And how do people get up with you if they want to contact you, if they want to join you on an investigation, or if they want to invite you onto one that they're going to? What's the best way to contact?
Yeah, probably on our Instagram page. We're at Moore_Paranormal. And then we're also on Facebook at just at Moore Paranormal on Facebook. And we have a t-shirt. We started a little t-shirt shop it's more-paranormal.myspreadshirt.com. We're just doing this for fun. We're really into it. We're trying to be a family, doing family stuff, investigating and exploring the paranormal world. So we think it's a cool opportunity. We're experiencing things you would never experience in a normal world, and just trying to have fun with it.
Awesome. I wish you all the best of luck. We're definitely going to keep the communication open. I want to hear about more investigations as y'all go on them, and that way we can have you back on if you don't mind.
It would be awesome. We appreciate you having us on this time. So thank you for giving us this platform.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
And we are cutting it time. I know you need to leave too, Miss Kim. So we will say goodbye now. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
All right. Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And with that, the fire is out. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I want to thank every single one of you for listening each week. I really do appreciate all of you. If you haven't had the chance to reach out to me on the social media aspect, Fireside Paranormal Hub on Facebook is the Facebook group. We're super active. We have a lot of fun. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter at Fireside Parapod. That's Parapod. Make sure you check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Fireside Paranormal. We have several tiers that you could choose from. You can join in for as little as $1. We have giveaways. We have the name drops. We have Discord servers, merchandise, bonus audio. We have a lot going on. We'd love for you to join us there. And make sure you check out our website, firesideparanormal.com. Get you some of that Fireside merch. Also, this past week, I was the guest for 2 different podcasts. Brian and Eric Don't Belong Here and Somewhere in Dreamland. Go check them out. Go listen to the show. Give them some support. Subscribe to them. We had a lot of fun on both of those shows, so definitely check it out. That is all the time we have for this week, so until next week, everybody, don't be afraid, only believe.